Hi, I'm Valerie with Now Gardening, and today I'm here to let you in on a little secret. Some people know, some people have heard of it, but a lot of people think that it's just a weird old wives' tale. And I have actually recently verified this through an experiment. So I'll take you through that today, and I'll show you how you can grow amazing tomato plants that are not only disease resistant, but are also champion producers. Let's get started. It's a couple of days before I'm planning to transplant my tomato plants outside, so I want to kick off a new experiment. So what I'm doing is I'm digging this trench, which I want it to be about 12 inches or about 30 centimeters deep. So now I'm just going to put this yummy fish head in here, down about 12 inches. Have another one over here, just some bones pieces. I'm going to cover that up. I'm going to plant some tomatoes here in a couple of days, and we will see if that does anything to improve the quality of my tomatoes this year. Now this is a couple of days after I buried that fish head. And I'm just going to test this over the growing season of these two plants that have been actually raised together in this little container. So I'm going to put one over the fish head and one not near the fish head. And I'm going to do the same for these two that have also been growing in similar containers and have developed very similarly. While they were in the house, I'm going to plant both of these in this row over the fish head, and I'm going to plant these far away from the fish head. Here are my tomatoes and cherry tomatoes, all transplanted into my latest raised bed. Oh my goodness, never seen it held here. What kind of weird global warming nonsense is this? I wanted to show you this because here I planted all these beans and all of these tomatoes at the same time. No, you can barely even tell these are tomato plants. I mean, they're really like a strange bluish kind of yellowish color. They're not doing great at all. We've had just crazy temperatures, rain, wind, constant rain and wind. We actually have a break in it today, which is why I'm out here. And this one seems to be doing pretty well. Got a decent color to it. If you look at those are all pretty dead looking. And I also planted some here, and these is the same story. They're all basically looking pretty dead. So what I want to show you is this craziness, because these two, just to compare the color, look at the one next to it. Look at this one. Look at the ones next to it. Next to them. So those are like that washed out yellow, almost purplish kind of color, and this one bright green, lots of fur on the stalk, new growth in here, new growth here, really looking beautiful. And the thing that's crazy about this is that these are the two that were planted over those fish heads and the fish parts. These, I kind of have a mix going on. They're mostly kind of average, not really doing a whole lot. This one's looking pretty solid. These over here, these magnificent beasts that were planted over the fish head. Lots of flowers. This one too. Lots of flowers and flower heads. These guys have so many flowers. And I do have, just to show you, I do have a few tomatoes growing here. Its little sister down here beside it though is still very small. Needless to say, next year I will be planting all of my tomatoes over fish heads and fish parts. So now let's come back to these guys. I've nicknamed these guys my monsters because they have survived wind, rain, storms, windstorms, cold temperatures, all of the other flowers I had planted in the same bed with them, they all just gave up the ghost. They just died. They were diseased and everything after a month of solid rain. These guys, however, were the only ones that were not only still alive, they were actually thriving in spite of the horrible, horrible weather. But I still wasn't convinced that that was because of the fish heads or that that would actually lead to a more abundant harvest. And so I waited and I waited and I waited, and then the flowers started coming. And we had flowers and flowers and more flowers and more flowers. And just the flowers are everywhere on these two plants. Even that, I thought, well, let's wait and see. Let's see if they get pollinated. Let's see if they actually produce tomatoes. And now I can't show you everything that's on these plants because there's just too many. But I have tomatoes here, and here, and here, and here, and here, and here, and I'm finding them as I'm talking to you, and here. Some around here. Have some down here. And the thing about it is that I have all these tomatoes growing on it, but I also have tons of blooms still. And these guys are just, these tomatoes are coming out and they're nice and they're strong and they're healthy. For the moment, I haven't lost any of them. We'll see if that continues. But compared to the other ones in the bed, let me just show you. Compared to the other ones that were planted at the exact same time, I've got this guy who is my biggest one, who's not growing over fish head. But even so, these guys are about 15 centimeters at least, 20 centimeters maybe, a foot, foot and a half taller than him. And more importantly, this one has maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 tomatoes on it. In spite of me giving it an organic fertilizer, it has about 4, looks like 4 tomatoes, maybe 5 growing on it right now. Where these guys have, what number? We're maybe at 15 for each of the plants right now.